If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Get to the chopper!
Today we're talking about Predator, but not the Predator that has to tell his neighbors when he moves into the community.
Exactly.
The summer of Schwarzenegger continues here at the Bangers and Mash show.
We're ending it this time, right?
He will probably not come up again this year, but no guarantees. Does tend to show up unexpected, like when he kicks down the door and goes knock knock. Last month we talked about the Alien series. There's another sci-fi horror action franchise that has been irrevocably woven with the Alien series. When we talk about one, it's inevitable that we have to talk about the other.
I agree.
As we said earlier, today we're talking about Predator. Predator's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, but he is one ugly motherfucker.
We're going to talk about those 5 movies. We're basically including the AVP movies in this episode in order to make it longer. I need to find the notepad where we wrote down episode ideas right before we started the show. Originally, Alien and Predator was going to be one episode.
Yeah.
And then we realized we were going to talk way too long about Alien, so it should probably be split in 2.
Yeah, we decided.
Shut your mouth, boy. You know you like it.
That's getting edited out.
Let's get to the choppa.
Get to the chopper now!
And by the choppa, I mean the movies we're going to talk about.
We're a rescue team, not assassins. What do we gotta do?
In a part of the world where there are no rules, deep in the jungle, where nothing that lives is safe, they're up against the ultimate enemy. Nothing like it has ever been on Earth before. We cannot see it, but it sees the heat of our bodies and the heat of our fear. It kills for pleasure. It hunts for sport. But this time, it's picked the wrong man to hunt. Predator.
I just want to throw this out there. This movie came out in 1987. 1987 was maybe the best year for sci-fi, horror, and fantasy films. Here's a few of the movies that came out this year. RoboCop, Monster Squad, Princess Bride, Evil Dead 2, Hellraiser, Spaceballs, Near Dark, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors, The Running Man, The Witches of Eastwick, Prince of Darkness, Harry and the Hendersons, Opera, Stage Fright. That's just some of the movies that came out.
Wow.
When did you first see Predator?
It might have been on Monster Vision.
I saw this on Showtime or HBO. The first time I saw it, it was definitely unedited. I remember seeing it in the 6th grade. It was on AMC or FX or something, thinking, man, this is the greatest movie ever. For a brief while, I listed that as my all-time favorite movie.
I don't know if it's that good, dude, but it's pretty good.
What's Predator from 1987 about?
An alien that comes down from space and starts killing people?
The genesis of this project. This is what Wikipedia said. There was a joke going around Hollywood. In Rocky IV, Rocky would have to fight an alien. There was no other opponent on Earth that could challenge him. That could also apply to Arnold Schwarzenegger, who eventually starred in the movie. No man on Earth could defeat Arnold. These 2 screenwriters came up with this idea. Once again, we talked about this guy a lot this year, too. We ended up on the desk of Joel Silver, biggest action producer in Hollywood at the time. Really, the only risk in the film was the director. John McTiernan had previously only made one movie called Nomads, this really weird ghost possession movie with Pierce Brosnan. Right after Predator, he would make Die Hard. John McTiernan was one of the top action directors for many years. A team of expert commandos, led by Dutch Schaefer, go into Val Verde to rescue U.S. informants that have been captured by an insurgent army. After taking out the enemy army, something else in the jungle begins to pick them off one by one. And the something is an alien being that comes to Earth to hunt humans for sport.
And is invisible.
It has a cloaking device. Something I really like about Predator, it combines different genres. This is definitely an 80s action movie, full of machismo and explosions and machine guns.
And the Predator doesn't even show up until the last half hour of the movie.
Oh, before then, that first act, the Predator is just hinted at, reveals itself to be this sci-fi horror movie. I would argue that Predator is basically a slasher movie in a way. It's a body count movie. He's action monster version of And Then There Was None. It feels natural, too. It doesn't feel like these different elements are cobbled together.
Yeah, that's so cool, but let's talk about the monster.
It's a slow reveal of the Predator. You see its spaceship in the opening credits, which you never see again. The monster POV shots were very famous and have been parodied a lot. That infrared vision with the distorted audio. Just imagine you've never seen this movie before. You have no idea what's going on. The scene where you see infrared vision, demonic hand pick up a dead scorpion. The first indication to the audience that there's a fucking monster in this movie. movie.
I want to point out, the monster design has never been as good as it is in this movie.
Really?
Really.
When we get to it, creature design in Predator 2 is actually a little more interesting, but definitely some of the later sequels suffer. This design is great. You don't even really see it for a while. You just see the cloaking device. And that's another thing that's been referenced and ripped off and parodied endlessly, is the Predator's cloaking device, which makes him almost invisible.
It makes him invisible enough. The level of invisibility changes from movie to movie.
It does tend to vary. It has all these neat weapons, the shoulder-mounted cannon, the triangular laser sight, even the wrist blades are cool.
You see, Zach, the reason that there are two blades to come out perfect length apart, that he can debone somebody, that's how he does it so fast.
The Predator is definitely an expert when it comes to boning.
Deboning. Deboning.
Something that makes this character a little different. He's not out there killing because he's crazy or he's hungry or anything. He's killing for the sport of it, and the character has a sense of honor. Arnold realizes halfway through that the Predator isn't going to kill the woman because she's unarmed, not because she's a woman. Maybe the alien's sexist. Anyway, when the Predator and Dutch have their duel, he takes off all his high-tech weapons, and it's just mano a mano, or mano a monster, I guess. Distinct element of the character.
Talk about creature design, but you're all like, oh, tech. The reason I think that the monster design in this is the best it's ever going to be.
Okay.
In this one, the Predator looks real. In the sequels, you can tell that it's prosthetics, and this looks like one cohesive being.
He's very fleshy.
Yeah. My complaint with the Predator 2 design is that it's a little latexy.
Really?
Yeah.
The makeup in the second one is great. Obviously, Stan Winston did the effects for this film. He was actually a late addition to the movie. They hired some other guy to do the monster effects. This is a well-known anecdote. You can find this on the DVD. The original Predator design was ungainly, stupid-looking lizard bug thing with this long head. It was not graceful or fluid at all. You know, I know, who was the guy in the suit originally.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Van Damme. He worked on this movie for about a week. Oh, we'll hire a martial artist to play the alien. That'll give it a sense of movement, but they realized nothing about this was working. Stan Winston was brought in very quickly. In fact, he designed the alien on a plane ride over, and you know who he was sitting next to?
Who?
James Cameron. Stan was trying to figure out the monster design, and James said, I've always wanted to see an alien with mandibles. We have James Cameron to thank for the mandibles on the Predator. But it is a cool design. The dreadlocks, the skin is spiny. Mm-hmm. I don't know what purpose the dreadlocks serve.
Well, I know at least two of them are air tubes.
I think that really is just the Predator's hair. And the green fluorescent blood is...
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
Is really cool. Self-destruct panel on the arm is cool. Think about how this character has a sense of honor. It's comparable to Samurai Bushido. Even the mask looks like a samurai mask. He commits seppuku when he's defeated. There's something to that. Let's talk about the face of the Predator. Gynecological elements of the Predator's face.
It looks like a vagina with teeth.
I don't know how intentional. If you're willing to read into this movie, we talked about aliens and we talked about how the Alien franchise is built upon rape anxiety and how the monster itself looks like a penis. Meanwhile, this movie collects the baddest dudes on the planet. These are the toughest, hardest men around. This thing from outer space outclasses all of them. It has this rather vaginal appearance. There is maybe something to that. The compromise of the male macho psyche.
The underlining subtext of the film is feminism.
I really think that's not true because there's one female character in the film and she's completely useless. Spends the whole movie screaming and running and getting blood splattered on her face.
However, Predator spends the whole movie showing the best men in the world that the vagina is always stronger than them.
The movie is definitely about undermining action movie cliches, or maybe it's an interesting coincidence, and we're just reading too much into it. Probably. The camaraderie between the men is the secret heart of Predator.
And hey, there's a feat of strength in here.
This gets a 4 out of 5 on the Signs of Schwarzenegger. He doesn't say I'll be back, but everything else.
Are you sure he doesn't say I'll be back?
He does not. He'd say I'll be back. It's about buff, sweaty guys. The amount of perspiration on Carl Weathers' face is impressive. He's shiny, glistening. They're in the jungle. It's hot. When Dutch and Dylan are reunited at the beginning of the film and there's that epic handshake. Well, it's not even really a handshake. It's like
they arm wrestle.
They grasp hands and how enormous both of their biceps are. There was a lot of manly competition on this movie. Apparently, everybody would get up early to work out to the point where Carl Weathers was getting up earlier and earlier every day to work out.
Oh, you can see that because his eyes are always bloodshot.
This competition to be as brotastic and manly as possible. Jesse the Body Ventura, is
I don't have time to bleed.
Well, he's introduced doing tobacco, saying this shit'll make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus. Like me. He's very, very close to Mac, who's played by Bill Duke. Plays a sort of similar to his character in Commando. Both of these characters go off the rails. When Jesse Ventura's character is killed by the Predator, Bill Duke loses his fucking mind. He's very distraught. Gives the dead body a drink, and he says, he was my bro.
That scene where he's firing the...
When Blaine gets killed and then he picks up Old Painless, he performs some deforestation.
One part that I always found a little bit funny.
What's that?
That everybody else comes running, start firing.
Yeah, everybody empties all their guns into the jungle, and they clear the the jungle.
But not one of them ever stops to say, hey man, what are you shooting at?
That's such a good point. What are we trying to kill? All out of bubblegum.com, the action movie resource website, actually declared this the most macho film ever made. It very well may be.
Yeah, but it could also be the most unintentionally gay movie ever made.
Well, no, that's Commando. This movie has a heaping helping of unintentional homoeroticism. I think Jesse Ventura and Bill Duke's characters were in a relationship.
Okay, but let's talk about Dutch and Dylan.
Yeah, that's why Dutch is so pissed off when he finds out that Dylan betrayed him. It's not just because he betrayed his trust, he betrayed his love.
They were about ready to break the
Make
table
out,
when
yeah.
they were doing the arm wrestle.
That's the magic of 80s action movies. These movies tried to be so manly that they go back around in the other direction. When you've got a bunch of dudes in the jungle with their shirts off, they're all sweaty. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but this movie almost is so macho that it comes back around and becomes gay, and then goes all the way back around and becomes macho again.
Amazing action. You mentioned Arnold's feat of strength. He lifts a fucking truck.
I was actually referring to the fact that he arm wrestled with Cora Weathers and lived to tell about it.
I think deadlifting the truck would be the ridiculous feat of strength.
Apparently, you just have no faith in Cora Weathers.
No faith in Apollo.
Yeah.
But when they blow up the camp, straight up 80s action. They're just machine gunning. There are bodies that are set on fire. Arnold throws a knife into a guy and says, stick around. Which is one of my all-time favorite Arnold one-liners. Blows the room up.
Stick around.
Yeah, stick
knock,
around.
Knock.
As a horror movie, how does Predator match up?
You know my feeling. It has some horror elements, but
It's super gory.
it is gory. A sci-fi movie can be gory.
People are being hunted by a monster. There are some genuinely tense moments in this. The case has been made that Predator is a horror film. It's trying to scare the audience. It's trying to show the audience gruesome things. When they find the flayed bodies.
There are horror elements, yes, but I think overall it is a sci-fi
Alright,
film.
well, let's just talk about the death scenes then. Blaine, that Hawkins, Shane Black's character, gets pulled down suddenly and blood splatters on the woman's face.
Shane Black is in that?
Yeah, Shane Black, writer of Lethal Weapon and many other films, acts in this movie. He plays Hawkins, who is the jokester. He's always telling jokes about his girlfriend's pussy.
Yes.
I didn't. There's an echo. Even Sonny Lundum thinks that's funny.
Billy.
Jesse Ventura gets a hole blown through his chest with a laser gun.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, one of my favorite death scenes is when Bill Duke gets shot point blank in the head with a laser cannon, and the contents of his skull splatter over the camera lens.
Yes.
Great stuff. Carl Weathers' death is epic. He gets his arm cut off with a laser cannon. And it's always struck me how jiggly his arm is as it falls to the ground. The gun's still going. The death scenes are pretty great.
Yes.
What do we think of Dutch?
I like Dutch.
As an Arnold character. Arnold is usually the most unstoppable force in any movie he's in, and here he's kind of vulnerable. He can be hunted, he can be hurt.
Definitely a different character, but he still drops the fun-liners.
If it bleeds, we can kill it. We mentioned how swole Carl Weathers is. I've always been a big fan of Carl Weathers, and I think he gives a good performance in this. There's Sonny Landham as Billy, Bill Duke as Mac, Shane Black as Hawkins, Jesse Ventura as Blaine, and then there's the other guy, Poncho, Richard Chavez. Nobody gives a shit about Poncho.
I don't have time to bleed. Do you have time to duck?
Do you have time to duck?
Which is like his only line in that movie.
Poncho is dead weight. He does not contribute anything to this team.
He contributes lob grenades into the...
Oh, and he speaks Spanish. He can translate the screaming woman's dialogue. My absolute favorite part of this movie is the end, when everybody's been killed except for Arnold. Arnold versus the Predator. Makes the booby traps.
The scene where they mow down the jungle, and then that last act, that's all anybody ever remembers from the movie.
When he covers himself in mud, has the torch, and then he does a scream into the jungle because he's just pissed off and pumped up.
Actually, my favorite scene in the movie isn't actually one of the action scenes. After they mow down the forest,
right,
where Matt is drinking, toasting to his buddy.
Quit shaving, you don't have a beard.
He goes, I'm gonna find him.
I'm gonna have me some fun.
And when I find him, I'm gonna... You find it really hard to believe that this is an actor saying those lines. The one true moment of...
Pathos?
Yeah.
Bill Duke is good at playing unhinged characters. That moment where he stabs the fuck out of the boar.
Yeah. Right before that.
He's very intense.
And it's like, damn. And then he dies almost immediately.
Yeah, he doesn't make it far.
Jesse Ventura's up in heaven. Way to go, fucker.
Arnold covers himself in mud to hide his heat signature. Would that work? I don't think that would really work.
It would, if the mud is thick enough.
What about when the Predator falls into the water and that shorts out his cloaking device? So much for superior alien technology.
I don't think it really shorts it out. I think it's more along the lines of figures he's going to see me come up out of here anyway.
And you have to wonder, is that part of it? As I mentioned earlier, it's all about fair game. It's no fun for them unless it's a fair fight. This was an online video game. After he killed everybody, the Predator would type GG.
Good game. Okay. I was sitting there thinking, what the fuck is GG?
Rewatching it made me appreciate how good this movie looks. John McTiernan does these low-angle dolly shots when the characters are running through the underbrush. Mm-hmm. Really cool trick. He's a slick filmmaker. His films look good. It's a good thriller. I think it's a good action film. I think it's a good science fiction film. And I could probably talk about it more, but we should move on.
Los Angeles, 1997. It's the hottest summer on record. Pollution is choking the city. The gangs control the streets. As bad as things are, they're about to get worse. Much worse.
You don't know what you're dealing with.
He's on safari.
Predator 2. He's in town with a few days to kill.
They made a sequel. It took them a while. It wasn't until 1990. We're into the 90s age of horror.
I just want to point out, while you're talking about the 90s age of horror, I have a little rant here. Like, every weekend, they played at least one horror movie on TNT or TBS or
USA.
Or sci-fi. Some network somewhere was playing some kind of horror movie.
Don't get me started on the decay of the sci-fi channel. That's off topic, but yes, I agree with you. More monster movies on cable is definitely needed. They made a sequel to Predator. Predator 2. Though perhaps it should have been called Predator Dos, because there's a lot of Spanish in it.
I believe our viewers could actually hear me rolling my eyes at you that time.
I think the main gimmick for Predator 2 is Predator goes to the big city.
Or is it the Iron Jungle?
They actually made a comic book called Concrete Jungle. It came out before Predator 2. It's set in 1997, what was then the future. It's set in Los Angeles. The city is experiencing both a heat wave and this incredible crime wave. We're talking Death Wish 3 levels of crime.
RoboCop levels of crime.
Yeah, the Mexican drug cartels and the Jamaican drug cartels have turned Los Angeles into a war zone, and the police are powerless to stop it. Even Detective Mike Harrigan, played by
Danny Glover.
Yeah, Danny Glover. It was hinted in the first two movies, and then they dropped it from there on, but the Predator is attracted to heat and violence. So he shows up and starts killing people in LA in this war zone, and it's up to Mike Harrigan to stop him. I mentioned how in the first movie, Sam Winston and his team were brought on very late in the process, and they had to rush the creature design. For Predator 2, they had more time to prepare. That is reflected in that the Predator has more toys.
Yeah.
He comes with more accessories this time. The cool net gun, and it's actually a razor net gun in his gauntlet that shoots these little three-pronged spearheads. My favorite is the rotoscoping spear, which is really, really cool. And then what I call the razor-bladed frisbee of doom.
I think it's just called the disc.
That's another good addition. When I watched these movies as a kid, I didn't pick up on the nuances and the differences between the Predators, but this is a different Predator, obviously. Oh, something we need to talk about the original, though, is Arnold surviving a nuclear explosion by diving behind a log.
But we didn't know that until...
Dutch is in the Choppa there at the end.
Oh, that's right. He is in the Choppa.
This Predator does look different. Its skin is spinier, and it has more teeth.
He's one ugly motherfucker.
He is one ugly motherfucker. What do you think about Predator's newfound ability to talk?
It doesn't bother me.
I hate it. He should not speak English.
I do like a little more armored in this one.
He's hunting bar this time.
Not that he looks latexy, but it doesn't feel as real as the first one to me. The head's a little bit too big.
Predator replaying audio he's recorded from his mask is one thing. Danny Glover looks at him unmasked and says, "You one ugly," and then the Predator says, "Motherfucker." It's a pretty minor complaint. Do you like Predator 2? Mm-hmm. Most people do. It's pretty well liked by the fan community. And I'm not saying I dislike this movie. The direction is kind of crappy. The action is not always easy to follow.
I feel like the pacing is off. I have like this really intense Predator moment, and then it's like this deadpan.
Because of the changing of location, it's not 7 dudes in the jungle. It's the city, and now there are other things going on.
Well, yeah, they completely forget the horror atmosphere, the heaviness of something watching.
I agree with you, but there's also that element of the surprise is ruined now. We all know what the Predator looks like.
The people in the city don't know what it looks like.
This movie was directed by a guy named Stephen Hopkins. Also made Nightmare on Elm Street 5, Ghosts in the Darkness, and the Lost in Space movie.
I've seen 3 of those 4 movies.
You've never seen The Ghost in the Darkness?
No.
The Lion movie with Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas?
Or I might have seen that. I don't like that movie.
It's alright. It's not bad. Stephen Hopkins is no John McTiernan. The opening gunfight between the gangs is honestly hard to follow. The scene on the subway is terrible. It's awful. I understand what they were trying to do. Oh, the subway is going from light and dark. We don't know what's going on, and that's supposed to build tension, but it's irritating. It's hard to understand what's happening.
I think it would have been Bill Paxton facing down the Predator while that was going on.
Okay.
That would have been one thing. But going back and forth between watching those two fight and Vasquez Jr. trying to get everybody off the train.
The Predator's killing everybody because everybody in the train car has a gun. It doesn't work. And that's my biggest problem with the movie. The direction is not as tight as it should have been. What do we think of Danny Glover?
I like Danny Glover.
He's more Riggs than Murtaugh in this movie. He's playing the renegade cop this time. It's almost a personal thing between him and the Predator. The Predator kills another one of the cops.
Danny boy.
Sort of personal revenge. Danny Glover didn't get to play a straight-up action hero that often, but in this one, he's blowing people with shotguns. I like him in this. Arnold was scripted to return originally. The character that's played by Gary Busey, that was originally supposed to be Arnold. But this movie does have a loaded supporting cast. Mm-hmm. Like, we mentioned Bill Paxton as Jerry, who is a braggart and an ass clown. Very similar character to Hudson.
I like him.
Less of a fuck-up than Hudson, because he doesn't totally crack under pressure.
Yeah.
Gary Busey is in this. That's another Joel Silver connection. Gary Busey was in Lethal Weapon, and now how he's in this movie. I love the Buse, typically manic in this. His death scene is amazing. This was his first movie after the motorcycle crash that gave him irreparable brain damage. Female cop, that's Maria Chanquita Alonso, who was the love interest in The Running Man. Robert Davi shows up randomly. Is he playing a drug lord in this? Or is he playing a cop? Robert Davi, so he's either a cop or a drug lord. And hey, what do you think of Morton Downey Jr. as the tabloid reporter, basically playing himself?
Is he related to Robert?
He's not. Morton Downey Jr. was the proto Jerry Springer. He had this really trashy talk show. He was in a great episode of Tales from the Crypt called Television Terror. Everybody wants to see Morton Downey Jr. get killed. He's so obnoxious. The thing I really do like about Predator 2, that it expands on the mythology. This establishes that the Predator does not attack people that aren't a threat to him. Scene with a little boy with a toy machine gun in the cemetery. The female cop, the Predator, somehow...
Vasquez Jr.
Yeah, he can tell that she's pregnant, and he spares her life because of that. After Danny disarms the Predator's hanging on the side of a building, and he's about to set off his self-destruct mechanism. At some point, Danny Glover got a hold of the Predator's destructo disc, cuts his hand off. Predator falls into an apartment building, into an old woman's apartment. She's watching Jeopardy. Goes into her bathroom, makes some sort of flare that he can cauterize the wound with. Giant alien monster is running for the hallways of this apartment, and this old woman has no fucking clue what's going on. We see the inside of the Predator ship in this one.
Yes, and the trophy room.
That's important. What's the name of the Jamaican drug lord?
King Willie.
King Willie, yes. Earlier this week, we were having a conversation. You said, what happened to King Willie?
I know that he was turned into a trophy or whatnot.
He gets decapitated.
There's no way that a badass voodoo priest...
He's supposed to be a badass, yeah.
You know, that pulls out a fucking sword cane is going to go down that easily. And I understand it's the Predator.
King Willie dies in a scene transition.
I would have liked to have seen what led up to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See the Predator take the head into the ship, defleshes it, and then puts the skull on his trophy wall. And what else is on that trophy wall?
A xenomorph head?
Yeah, a xenomorph skull. This actually is not the origin of the Alien vs. Predator franchise. The Alien vs. Predator comics predates Predator 2. Xenomorph skull was actually put in the movie as a reference to the comics.
Yeah, and there's one that looks like a Rancor.
Yeah.
It looks like a Rancor skull.
Yeah, there's some weird alien skulls in there.
We need to look those up, because I guarantee you every single one of those is some kind of Easter egg.
I looked it up, and disappointingly, they're not. Just the xenomorph is an Easter egg. At the end of the movie, after Danny Glover and the Predator have their one-on-one fight, and the Predator's killed, a bunch of other fucking Predators come out of the ship. Danny Glover has that amazing line of dialogue where he looks around, looks at the Doom Frisbee in his hand covered in green blood, and he says, alright, which one of you is next?
Yes.
But of course, they don't attack him. Predators are nothing if not honorable. The Elder Predator gives Danny Glover this old flintlock that says 1776 on it. That just says to the audience that these guys have been coming to Earth for a long time.
Wouldn't actually mind seeing a period Predator movie.
I can't believe they've never done it before. It's something they've explored a lot in the comics. Like, there's a comic that shows you how Grayback is the name of the Elder Predator. It shows you how he got that pistol. He got it from a Spanish pirate.
It would be interesting to see how the Predator technology has evolved over the years. Wouldn't it be interesting to see how 200 years...
It's hard to know how much they've evolved over the last 200 years, because their species seems to be in the peak part of their culture. Though really, even over the course of these 5 movies, we still don't really know a lot about the Predator culture.
I would love to see a Predator mythologies movie.
I've always wanted to see one set in feudal Japan, samurais versus Predators.
Do like a Bill and Ted thing, people from different timelines on the Predator world.
Okay, I'm not sure how that would work, unless the Predators have time travel too, but...
Why wouldn't they?
Sure. That's when you get into Alien versus Predator versus Terminator, when the time travel shows up.
Oh, well then let's not. I still would like to see one on the Predator homeworld. What is the Predator homeworld like?
We get one glimpse at it in all of the series.
We were tricked into thinking the Predators was going to take place.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's on a game preserve planet.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It's an okay sequel. There are elements I really like about it. There are elements I'm not too crazy about. Predator 2 did not do great at the box office. I think it opened at number 6 at the box office. Low numbers.
7 days ago, one of my satellites over Antarctica discovered a pyramid.
Where exactly on the ice is this?
It's not on the ice. It's 2,000 feet under it.
Did you hear that?
This whole thing was a trap.
They're not hunting us. We're in the middle of a war.
For years and years and years, they talked about making an Alien vs. Predator movie. And that was something I wanted to see for so long. I guess there's really no reason for the Alien and the Predator to fight, but it's cool.
Right.
And that should be enough reason for any monster bash.
Well, the reason we need.
If you look at this up on the internet, Ridley Scott, James Cameron, Sigourney Weaver all said that they thought Alien vs. Predator was a terrible idea that would devalue the Alien franchise. Who cares what they think?
More importantly, who cares what Sigourney Weaver thinks?
But sometimes reality does a funny thing where it makes your dream seemingly come true.
But then shits on it.
Yeah, it's not really a dream, it's a nightmare. It's like a Twilight Zone episode. When they announced they were making an Alien vs. Predator movie, they gave it to a director called Paul W.S. Anderson, who is responsible for the Resident Evil films and Event Horizon. People say Event Horizon is good, but those people are wrong. Event Horizon is shitty. He's a tacky piece of shit director. I may still see this movie in the theater, but I'm not going to enjoy it. But then the thing that really pissed me off, they gave it a PG-13 rating. Fuck this movie. I didn't see AVP until it hit cable. I saw AVP on HBO. I didn't pay to see this fucking movie.
I saw it in theaters.
They roped you in. They tricked you. Did you think it was going to be good?
Yeah. I didn't hate it when I first saw it, but I was a stupid teenager.
Okay.
Watching it now, there are some things that I like, but the movie's overall pretty crap.
How do you combine two R-rated franchises and make a PG-13 movie? And another thing I hate about this fucking movie is it's set on Earth. Ugh. An AVP movie should be set somewhere in fucking space. If the xenomorphs get out on Earth, we're screwed. Humanity is doomed.
And they spent all of their movies
in goddamn space.
And the people in those movies did everything they could to keep them off of Earth.
In Alien, okay, the company knows about the xenomorph, but it was a stupid decision to set the film on Earth. Jim said on the future in space. God damn it. The plot of AVP, which I hate, by the way. AVP, fuck you. It's like when they made the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen movie and called it LXG. Is saving room on the theater marquee that important to you? The Weyland Corporation discovers a fucking pyramid in Antarctica. Mr. Weyland, who's played by Lance Ingerson, gets a bunch of people together, scientists, archaeologists. I saw her named Alexa as the main character of the movie.
They're all top experts in their field.
They all jet out to Antarctica, and they find this giant pyramid underneath the ice. This pyramid that seems to have aspects from cultures from all over the world. The pyramid is a training ground for novice predators who just happen to be stopping by. And the humans show up, and they awaken the queen alien.
And she's also cryogenically frozen.
And then woken up by this electrical system.
As soon as the lightning, which is 3 times hotter than the surface of the sun, hits the frozen chains, they would explode, releasing the queen anyway. There was no science put in this film whatsoever.
And what is Paul W.S. Anderson's obsession with underground facilities? He added an underground facility to Resident Evil, and that wasn't in the source material, but at least it sort of made sense. In this movie, it makes no sense. The reason to hate this movie...
Paul W.S. Anderson?
It makes some really stupid, unnecessary additions to the mythology. Apparently, Paul Anderson has been working on the script for 8 years, which does not speak well of his abilities as a writer. According to this film, which I consider to be apocryphal, predators have been involved with Earth for thousands of years. Predators helped us build the pyramids. The biggest, stupidest cliche of aliens ever. So sick of aliens building the pyramids. They influence culture all over the world, which is stupid. Because in any previous movie, all the predators care about is hunting humans.
I also want to point out the predators speak their own language. Why would they teach people to talk?
The xenomorphs have been on Earth for thousands of years. Way to demystify that, Paul. The movie's even inconsistent about it. The amount of time it takes a chest burster to explode out of somebody varies. A female character, one of the unimportant characters, gets face hugged. And a chest burster comes out in seemingly minutes. Predator gets face hugged. It takes the whole rest of the movie for the chest burster to come out of him. Predators are pussies in this. These are incompetent entry-level predators, and they're bad at their jobs. They get the shit beat out of them. The whole movie, one alien kills a predator. The main one gets face hugged and doesn't realize he's pregnant. What a fucking jackass.
You want to know my complaint about the predators in this movie?
The armor?
Not so much the armor, but the overall creature design.
Oh, it's terrible.
They have no neck. They're bulky.
And the mouths are bad. The mandibles are too big, and the inner jaw is too small.
Yeah.
Really hate ridiculously bulky armor they have on.
Yeah.
The stupid extra long wrist blades, that's just Paul Anderson's aesthetic. He takes something elegant and simple and well done and makes it needlessly junky.
There's no reason that a predator blade should be any longer than a foot.
Any longer than it needs to be to stab somebody. I don't even like the individualized mask. Get it, there's more than one predator in this movie. You need to individualize them somehow.
Only one has the mask that really looks different.
What do you think of the xenomorphs?
And he's the one that dies almost instantly. The hashtag xenomorph is cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
The grid alien is what he's called.
I'm calling him the hashtag xenomorph.
Okay. This movie maintains raptor-style xenomorph design from Alien Resurrection, which I hate. That first fight between the predator and the alien, when he's swinging it around by its tail, that's probably the best moment in the film. The one moment where this movie tricked me to think maybe it could be good, but then it immediately goes back to sucking after that. Paul W. Anderson seems to be completely ignorant of the subtext of these creatures. Aliens kidnap people, measure them up against the wall so they can get pregnant. He doesn't seem to be engaging with what that means in any way. His direction is tacky. There's a lot of slow motion. There's a lot of bullet time. 5 years after The Matrix, this motherfucker was still doing the bullet time thing. Facehugger's flying for the air, and the camera spins around it, and the predator throws a fucking glaive at it.
Instead of a disc, it's a glaive.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Stupid.
This isn't Crawl. It's a fucking predator versus alien. What the hell?
Yeah. The fight with the queen alien at the end is badly choreographed. It's really difficult to follow.
And the queen isn't supposed to be that big.
She goes down like a pussy, too. None of the monsters are actually threatening in this film. And I even hate the humans. The main chick, she's ill-defined tough girl, but I guess she's fine.
We're just lucky it wasn't Mila Jovovich.
Yeah, we really are. I don't know how I feel about her earning the Predator's respect. I know in the comics there was the female human who became an honorary Predator, but I really hate the archaeologist dude, Sebastian, a monologue machine. The scene where he reads the hieroglyphics off the walls of the pyramid, even though it's an alien language, exposition drops the movie's entire background on us. Wow, Paul, you couldn't think of a more elegant way to get that out there? He's really annoying, and thankfully he dies quickly. And what do we think of Lance in this? Lance, the one respected element of the mythology in this movie. He's alright. He's not given a lot to do, but Lance Henriksen usually brings something to a movie no matter how shitty it is.
That's fair. I don't think I would have liked him as the Terminator, though. Anyhow, that's a different podcast.
Yeah, it is. Oh, this is Mr. Whalen, who was obviously the inspiration for Bishop. Hundreds of years later, sure, whatever, I'll buy that.
I'll buy that for $1.
Compliments I will give this film. Set design for the pyramid is well done. The beginning of the movie, some people are watching Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman on TV. That's cute. In conclusion, AVP, Alien vs. Predator, still fucking sucks.
It was outside the window.
You just had a bad nightmare. See? No monster.
What's the Army's evacuation plan?
There's an airlift in 30 minutes.
The Colonel's line. The Army thinks about containment first.
Despite AVP fucking sucking, it still made a lot of money until Prometheus came around. This was the highest grossing film in both franchises. How depressing is that?
Because you have the Predator fans and the Alien fans.
Both got tricked into seeing that shitty movie. Anyway, 2 years later they made a sequel, and I remember the sequel being greenlit very, very quickly. It seemed like there was no movement on an AVP sequel, and then suddenly there was. 6 months later it was in theaters. The sequel is called Aliens vs. Predator Requiem, which is a useless subtitle. At least it's not called AVP. It was directed by a pair of filmmakers called the Strauss brothers, who were effects guys previously. And they promised to make a movie that would satisfy both fans. Yet the fans hated this movie anyway. This was received even more poorly than the first one. People really heaped vitriol onto Requiem. You know what? I like it.
I like it.
Didn't mention how the first AVP ended. It has a stupid little surprise ending. Like I said, the one Predator gets pregnant like a jackass.
You know what the Predomorph baby looks like?
The Pred Alien. What does it look like?
Penis with a vagina claw on the top.
A vagina claw. Our female listeners, if they exist, are going to love that.
Sorry.
The first AVP ended with a hybrid chestburster coming out of him. That's our setup for AVP Requiem.
I think they should still call it the Predomorph.
I actually do like Predomorph better than Pred Alien. Pred Alien comes out, kills all the Predators. The Predator ship crash lands in Gunnison, Colorado.
Why not?
Aliens get out, start impregnating people. Before the ship went down, sent a distress signal to this one Predator on Homeworld. He's like a cleaner. He goes in and cleans up other people's messes, because this Predator is the Chuck Norris of the Predators.
More like the Bruce Willis.
Also, there are some people in the town. I understand why people hate Alien vs. Predator Requiem. This movie is not only set on Earth, it's set in a populated area. The cast members are not tough space marines or scientists. Most of them are teenagers and 20-somethings.
Okay, but this is all what I like about the movie.
It lacks suspense, and it doubles down on mean-spirited gore. It endangers children and women. I get why people dislike those things. For me, Aliens vs. Predator really reminds me of a literary genre of horror called splatterpunk. They're books that are really nasty, and lots of gore, and usually quite a bit of sexual violence, too.
So Hellraiser.
Yeah, Clive Barker would be considered a splatterpunk author. This movie really reminds me of an author called Richard Lehman. Even the structure of the film, small town, with a lot of people in it, a lot of the characters are horny teenagers obsessed with sex, feels like a Richard Lehman novel. I can really imagine him writing something like this very easily. Do these elements have any place in the Alien or Predator series? Maybe not. I don't know. But I still enjoy the movie. A sleazy, violent monster mash is a pretty entertaining film. And it's got some fun in-jokes, too. The score seems to deliberately take elements from James Horner's Alien score and Alan Silvestri's Predator score. We didn't talk about the score in the original Predator, but I love that theme. Somebody says, "Get to the chopper" in this. Somebody says, "You're one ugly motherfucker." At the end of the movie, we're introduced to Miss Yutani. Seems like the Yutani and Weyland corporations came together over their shared interest in the alien technology. Pred Alien is a cool idea. I'm not a real big fan of the design of the Pred Alien. The dreadlocks look silly.
If they would have just kept a penis head with the vagina claws for the mouth, I think it would have looked a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. There had been Pred Aliens, or Predomorphs, if you will. Those had existed in comics and video games, and they didn't look that awkward. This movie really course-corrects something from the last film, because the Predator is a badass. They call the Predator Wolf. Cleans up other people's shit. Those tubes of blue acid that he melts things with. He's got all these cool weapons. He's got the wrist blades, the shoulder cannon, and the cloak, and the glaive. But he's also got a bladed whip, plasma shotgun, and laser net that he launches xenomorphs through the laser net so he chops them up. He's a Predator that knows what he's doing.
Yes.
He's not one of these entry-level punk-ass motherfuckers Predators from the last movie. And more importantly, this movie doesn't fuck with the mythology like the last one does. It makes no references to the Predators building the pyramids. They ditch the lame designs for the xenomorphs. The xenomorph designs in this are based right out of Aliens. They've got the ridged domes. This movie makes more of an attempt to make them scary. Like the scene where it leaps into the little girl's bedroom and attacks the dad. That's a decent jump scare. I'm not saying this movie is sophisticated, but it tries. It communicates with the subtext in a very, very crude way. Because what's a thing that the Pred alien can do? It can get you pregnant.
Oh, God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it force feeds women multiple eggs. One scene where it goes into a maternity ward, force feeds a pregnant woman alien eggs. Is that unnecessarily gruesome? Is it really filmed like a rape scene? Are these things in questionable taste? Well, yeah, but it's a horror movie. The horror genre is not for the easily offended. And yeah, there are rape vibes all up in this thing. I think that's good.
The Alien franchise alone has always had some element of rape to it.
Exactly. It's always been about that. And I'm not saying this movie does it gracefully or elegant, but at least it fucking tries. The real reason people hate this movie is because of the human characters are generic and lame.
You know who the biggest stars in this movie are?
The Predators and the aliens?
No, I'm talking about the actors. So the dad that gets killed by the alien, that is Sam from True Blood. The blonde girl that gets killed, I'm pretty sure that's Nora from Being Human.
The only actor in this movie I recognize is the Wayland Company guy. Can't think of the actor's name, but he was the slow person in Land of the Dead, and he was one of the mutants in the Hills Have Eyes remake.
Oh.
He was a bad guy in Death Wish 5. It's the second Death Wish reference on this podcast. The main character is this guy who just got out of prison. He's boring. His little brother's a pizza boy. The little brother has a crush on this generic blonde girl, has an asshole boyfriend, even though she does actually want to fuck the pizza boy. The mom who just got out of the military, nobody gives a shit. Even the movie hates the human characters in this film. Most of them die. When the blonde girlfriend gets killed, it's almost as a joke. The Predator and one of the aliens are fighting in the hospital. Predator's glaive gets thrown, randomly spears the blonde girl. I laughed. Me and Christopher were the only people in the theater, and I laughed when it happened because it seems like a joke.
Yeah.
The final fight between Wolf and the Pred alien is cool. There's lots of gore. The in-jokes, the vulgar tone, and the focus on action makes this movie feel like fan fiction at times. But if so, I think it's good fan fiction. There's only two things I dislike about this film. The photography is dark at times and difficult to follow. Secondly, I think some of the things that Wolf does are a bit inconsistent. He's there to clean up, but sometimes he acts like he's hunting. People shit on those movies. They have lots of reason to shit on that first one. I'll stand up for Aliens vs. Predator Requiem. And I think you do too.
I do. A good, fun popcorn movie where you get to watch monsters fight. There you go. Space monsters.
What's the last thing you remembered? All of a sudden there was a light, and then I was falling.
Who are you?
I was supposed to be executed 2 days ago.
And I was in combat. So was I.
Black Ops.
Yakuza. We were chosen.
Chosen for what?
This planet is a game preserve. And we're the game.
Predators came out in 2010. I was probably too excited for this film. This was the first real Predator sequel in 20 years, disregarding the AVP movies, produced by Robert Rodriguez, who promised that this would be a worthy sequel. It was directed by a guy named Nimrod Atal, who was an up-and-comer. He's German. Do you remember that I got you and Chris Brown, we all went to see Predators together, we got dinner beforehand, I made an event out of it. Probably because I got myself too excited for this movie that I was disappointed in the finished product. Looking back on it, Predators, which is a clever title. That's a nice correspondence to Aliens. It's not a bad film. I have some issues with this movie, but it does some things that are clever. What's the premise of Predators?
Apparently, these really bad people from all around the world got abducted and taken to this deserted planet.
Jungle area on this alien planet. The Predators just don't come to Earth to hunt. Sometimes they capture people on Earth and bring them to a game preserve to hunt them. There are these disparate group of characters who are all connected by the fact that they're killers. They are being tracked by unseen forces. It's the most dangerous game in space on an alien planet. You said earlier we were tricked by the trailers into thinking this would be set on the Predator homeworld. It's not.
No, it's not. Do like the Predator designs in this.
I like most of them. It's a return to the stripped down look from the original. They're not the heavily armored Predators from AVP. And I like some of the additions to the mythology. I like the Predator hounds.
I just don't know how I feel about them. Why do the Predators need Predator hounds? They have technology that can detect.
It makes sense because this is a group of Predators this time and they're hunting a large group of people, sending in the dogs as agents Adrian Brody says, is not a terrible idea.
Whatever.
The one Predator, they call him the Falconer, and he has this robotic drone that goes up and surveys the area. What is a fair fight to a Predator seems to vary from story to story.
What do you think of the cannibal Predators?
That is a problem I have with this movie. It builds up a lot of things that it doesn't pay off on. And one of those things is there's infighting among the Predators.
There are like 2 tribes or something?
Yeah, this hunt is taking place during a battle between 2 different types of Predators. There is not a lot of build-up to it. It happens in the middle of the movie. The fight between the 2 Predators is very brief. And then the lead Predator, that's the one design I don't like. It's either called the Super Predator or the Berserker. Red and black skin and the extra wide mandibles. I don't really like that design. I wish they had focused on that stuff more. Some other stuff in this movie I don't really care about. Lawrence Fishburne is this human that's been surviving on the game planet for some time. He's stolen some cloaking technology. He's kind of crazy. He has an imaginary friend.
He's nuts. I don't like him.
He doesn't add very much to the movie.
No, he's just there to be another adversary, and I really don't think the movie needs it.
That's what the film feels like sometimes. They're adding stuff that doesn't really accumulate to anything. I know this movie got some shit at the time when they heard that Adrian Brody was starring as a badass mercenary. Adrian Brody as a badass mercenary? But I like Adrian Brody. I always have. He's been in a lot of bad movies. No doubt about that. I like him in this. He plays Royce. Brody hit the gym hardcore for this. He's beefy. You called it the Batman voice. He does have a whisper.
I'm sending the dog set.
I know, because that's what I would do.
Why?
Because he's tough,
Why,
Jamie.
Big Nose McGee, do you have to use the bat voice? Why don't you let your nose grow bat wings and fly away and take your voice with it?
What do you think of Alice Braga as Isabel, the female lead?
She's cute.
Oh, she's attractive for sure, and I like her. I've seen Alice Braga in a few things, and I always like her. She's a character with the most remaining humanity and compassion, which doesn't always serve her well. I read one review that said the supporting cast in this film is a collection of stereotypes, and it really is. Mexican drug cartel enforcer, prison convict, a Yakuza, a Russian Spetsnaz, then a Death Squad member from some African hellhole. Hey, Danny Trejo's in this, and guess which one of those he is?
He's the Spetsnaz.
No, he's not. He's the Mexican drug enforcer. Underutilized Danny Trejo.
They should have made him the lead guy and named him Machete. That way you can have a Machete versus Predator movie.
Well, that's the 4th one. That's after Machete in Space.
Oh, it's Machete versus Predator.
I don't know how you can put Danny Trejo in your movie and not give him more to do.
And not call him Machete?
Walter Goggins plays the convict. He's a little over the top when he's talking about how I'm going to rape so many bitches. That's a scripting problem. I don't think it's Walter Goggins' fault. I think the script is a little broad. The rest of the characters are indistinct. One guy who sticks out. There's one person on this planet who seemingly should not be there.
Topher fucking Grace.
Topher fucking Grace.
Why is he there? What purpose does he serve other than to be one more fucking antagonist to hold up screen time? Why is he in the movie?
That's the question everybody has throughout the film. He's the load.
He's the tip.
We find out at the end why he's there. It turns out this innocuous-seeming fellow is actually a serial killer.
If you were to remove all of the scenes with Topher Grace, it would not change the movie at all.
It would. Adrian Brody uses Topher Grace as bait to track the Predator at the end of the film. But you're right, that's the only plot-relevant thing he does.
So we have to go through all this other crap?
His performance is kind of interesting. One of the reasons I was disappointed in this movie, in an interview, Topher Grace spoiled the reveal. He said, oh yeah, I play a Dexter-type serial killer, and I'm the main character of the movie. And only one of those things is true.
One of these things is not like the other.
Oh wow, a Predator movie where the main character is a serial killer, that's something different. But no, he's not the main character. I don't know why he said that. You lied to me, Topher Grace. You lied to me, guy from that 70s show.
Which, by the way, is the only thing he's ever done that's been mildly amusing.
There's some stuff in this that's alright. What do you think of the duel between the Yakuza and the Predator?
My favorite scene in the movie.
It's very anime-esque, the way they both charge at each other, and then they both lowly drop. That's such an anime thing.
Talk about how the Predators have honor. That Predator could have easily lasered him in the face with a shoulder cannon.
When somebody challenges them to a duel, they have to face that person on fair ground.
That's what they did. It was a very awesome, dramatic scene that I like.
It's a memorable moment in the movie for sure. What do you think of that finale, the final fight between Royce and the Berserker Predator?
I don't know. I think it's tacky.
He does what Arnold did in the first one.
Yeah.
He covers himself in mud, and he sets off fire so that his heat signature is harder to read. And then he cuts off the Predator's head. There's a lot of green blood in this movie, I'll give it that.
I didn't pay to see green blood.
It actually works better when the Predators aren't on screen. That first act, when you're getting the cast together and they're trying to figure out what's going on. That's the best part of the movie.
Where the fuck did that random-ass alien come from?
Yeah, the other creature, I don't know.
What does the Xenomorph Wiki or whatever say?
The Xenopedia?
The Xenopedia say was the race of that alien.
I don't know. Yeah, that's another weird thing in the movie. This is an occasionally entertaining film. It's uneven and it's sort of frustrating. It had more potential.
The dreaded beast versus the savage hunter. Aliens versus Predator with awesome new Predators. Clan leader attacks with whipping dreadlocks. And Stalker, glowing in the dark, fires his spear. Suddenly, lifting up his attack spikes, the wild boar alien charges. And the ferocious mother alien in her monstrous hive traps Spiketail, then covers him in ooze.
Ooze 'em!
Who will survive? Aliens versus Predator. Queen High playset comes with mother alien figure and ooze. Other figures sold separately.
Currently, the franchise is sleeping. Predators was a $40 million movie. That is evident. I think that's part of the problem. It made like $100 million worldwide. It turned a profit, but I guess they weren't really interested in continuing the series. It was announced that Shane Black, co-star of the original and 80s action pioneer, was going to direct a new Predator movie, and he was going to write it with Fred Dekker of the Monster Squad and Night of the Creeps fame.
Wow.
The movie hasn't started filming. There's no cast or anything right now. We don't know when, if it's going to come out. I'm trying not to get too excited about that. Shane Black is an inconsistent talent. Fred Dekker working on a Predator movie. Oh, that's awesome. Shane Black has said that it's not a reboot, it's a sequel. Make of that what you will. I don't know if that means Arnold's going to be in it or what.
Oh my god. Oh man.
I don't know when that movie's coming out, when it's going to get made, what it's going to be, but based on those two talents attached to it, I am excited. But we'll see.
Fred Dekker being involved.
That intrigues me a lot. There's a lot of potential with the series.
Introducing Alien vs. Predator for the 64-bit Atari Jaguar. You might not want to play it alone.
And one of the reasons we know there's so much potential is because there's lengthy expanded universe. In the comics, they've explored all sorts of ideas. I mentioned Concrete Jungle, which was the first Predator in a city story. And there's one called Bad Blood, which explains that there are such things as Predator pariahs. These Predators that have broken the rules, gone rogue, and started killing senselessly. And then there have been so many crazy crossovers. In addition to the Alien vs. Predator comic crossovers, let me mention some of the crossovers that have happened.
Batman vs. Predator.
Batman vs. Predator.
Superman vs.
Predator. Superman and Batman versus Aliens and Predator. Tarzan versus Predator. Judge Dredd versus Predator. I actually have that one. And then the most recent edition is Archie versus Predator, because now they're fucking with us.
We reflected to the comics, though, and it looks pretty interesting.
Last time we were in our local comic book shop, we were looking at Archie versus Predator.
They actually beheaded somebody and had the spine. And
Archie got edgy at some point.
Comes out on trade, I might have to buy it just to read it.
I think that shows how versatile the character is, that they can do all these really odd crossovers. Want to see if I can pick up Tarzan versus Predator, because that makes almost too much sense. And there have been a bunch of video games. I remember the NES Predator video game. You played as Arnold, as Dutch, but the sprite was bright pink. Pink hot pants Arnold. The Alien vs. Predator arcade beat 'em up from Capcom is one of my favorite arcade games.
Best game ever.
Oh yeah, it's great. I'm partial to the beat 'em up genre, but that one's awesome. Alien vs. Predator game on the Atari Jaguar, I remember being very good. That was the first person shooter where you could play as either an alien, a predator, or a human.
I played that on the computer, though.
Yeah, they did a PC port. Do you remember the commercial for this?
I don't.
A kid up in his bedroom playing this game. The commercial's talking about how intense the game is. For your Atari Jaguar, a system that was owned by all of 6 people. It ends with him saying, "Hey mom, is that you?" And then you see a xenomorph hand holding his mother's disembodied arm, tapping him on the shoulder. The commercial didn't get shown much, maybe because it was kind of gruesome for daytime TV. You didn't mention, according to the comics, the name of the predator species is the Yautja. Yautja. In the comics, they've explored the predator culture a little more. Apparently, they're a matriarchal society, which is why we've never seen female predators in any of the movies. Why the men are off hunting. They're the ones who actually make sure shit on the planet runs correctly. I was reading about what the female predators look like. They look like
predators with boobs.
Yeah, they have breasts. So I guess that means the male predators have penises and the female predators have vaginas. Do the vaginas have teeth? And now we've gone down a really disturbing avenue, haven't we?
Yes.
I know you want to talk about the Kenner Predator toy line.
Oh man, that toy line was awesome.
We've talked about Kenner Alien line. Ones I remember were the Lava Planet Predator, the Spiked Tail.
I had that one. I had the lava one. I had like all of them.
There was a blue one that did something. I remember you telling me about this for years. We mentioned on the Alien episode how you would talk about the Flying Queen Alien toy, and I had no idea what you were talking about. And then you mentioned there was a clan leader Predator.
Yeah, but I think I called it the King Predator.
Yeah, and it had super dreadlock. Its dreadlocks were stabbing tentacles.
Tentacles, yeah.
Turning aliens into a toy line is fallacious, and this is too. The series has a deep appeal.
You're one ugly motherfucker.
Before we get to the Choppa, let's give our contact information. You can hunt down our email, which is bangersandmash88@yahoo.com. Word bangers, letter N, word mash, number 88@yahoo.com. You can also hunt us on Facebook, facebook.com/The Bangers and Mash Show. Thank you, Luke, for your like.
I think that's it.
That's it. I guess we better get to the Chopper.
Well, let's get there, then.
What's your hold up? Come on. God.
So nice to meet you. I really like your shoes. I guess I should probably kill you now, but I'm really not in the mood. 'Cause depression gets the best of the worst of us, even dreadlocked monsters like me. And if you were familiar with anthropod-like features, you'd know that I was really having a hard time being the guy who kills humans in the jungle for sport and keeps decapitated skulls in a tree. My vision's based on heat, so I wish that you could see things through my eyes. You would know that I have warmth inside my heart, and I hang out in the trees because nobody seems to like me. If you shoot me, I will bleed, even though it might be a little bit green. And everyone stop blaming me for all these goddamn parties in the trees, 'cause that's not me. I'm Nathan. You can call me Predator. You can call me Predator. Predator. And I can turn invisible, but I can't make you see that behind my metal mask and grotesque mandibles, I'm really trying to smile here. And I ripped off your arms, but you tore out my heart with your cruel, insensitive words. My vision's based on heat, so I wish that you could see things through my eyes. You would know that I have warmth inside my heart, and I hang out in the trees because nobody seems to like me. If you shoot me, I will bleed, even though it might be a little bit green. And everyone stop blaming me for all these goddamn parties in the trees, 'cause that's not me. I'm Nathan. You can call me Predator.